Chapter 6 King and Queen Go Hunting. You'll enjoy that new book of dog stories, George Hibbert said, and it has some very fine illustrations, too. Harold looked up from his page turning and smiled at the happy faced librarian, who lay helpless in bed. Yes, I saw the picture of a big wolfhound. He leaned forward eagerly. And that reminds me, the very first time that I came over here, you told me how you were paralyzed from the neck down in a diving accident. Then later on, you promised to tell me the story of the Russian wolfhounds. Would you have time today? George glanced at the mantel clock. Well, let's see. It's almost 2. Yes, I'll be able to tell one story before Dick comes for me. He's taken me down to the barber shop for a haircut and a shave. He chuckled at the youngster's astonished look. Perhaps you didn't know that I do more traveling than many people who have no injuries. It is possible for me to sit up in a large chair or a car seat for many hours at a time, if my body is properly braced. Why, only a few months ago I rode for 26 hours from here to Los Angeles. He stopped for a moment. But I'll tell you of that trip some other time. Right now, you shall hear about the imported Russian wolfhounds and the short haired greyhounds that my father obtained through a famous Indian scout. Were they right here at your place? Quickly asked the visitor. Oh, yes. All this happened before I was born. But I have heard the story so often that it is very real to me. But first, I'll ask you a question, Harold. Do you know anything about either the wolfhound or the greyhound? No, I don't think so, slowly answered the interested boy. I guess I've read the names, but that is all. Well, George continued, the greyhound has long been called the dog of kings, and for hundreds of years it was possible for only noblemen to own that breed. It is believed that many that the greyhound is the oldest pure breed dog in the world. Students of Egyptian history have found carvings on a tomb in the Nile Valley, engraved there thousands of years ago, showing dogs of the greyhound type. This is one of the wisest of the dog family and is by nature very gentle. Now, there are two types of hunting dogs. One type has a keen sense of smell, while the other depends more upon eyesight and speed. The greyhound belongs to this second class. He locates the hunted animal by his sharp eyesight and then overtakes his quarry by his great speed. With his short hair, he can easily get through the brush. And what about the other dogs? Asked Harold, edging forward on his chair. The Russian wolfhound is also very swift and is a fine hunting dog on the plains. Dad owned purebred dogs of both types, and then he also crossbred them. He kept them here on the hill slope, safe within a large fenced in enclosure where they had enough space to exercise properly. How did they get their food? Did your father let them go out and hunt rabbits? Oh no, George laughed. When the farmers lost any stock, they would bring the dead animals in here to be used for dog food, and bran was also part of their diet. My brother used to stick his face down in the barrel and then let the hounds lick off the bran. Of course, he had to come into the house afterwards and wash with soap and water. King and Queen were among Dad's prize hunters. He used them for running down coyotes. Running down what? Blurted out Harold, forgetting in his excitement to ask pardon for his interruptions. Coyotes. I had forgotten that You have no doubt never seen one. However, you'll probably hear their shrill yapping, bark and howl some moonlit night, for at times they come down close to the Rimrock Hills near town. The coyote is somewhat like a wolf, but he's smaller in build. He has a light brown, gray-brown coat of fur that blends in perfectly with the gray sagebrush that covers the desert, and a hunter can pass within a few feet of his hiding place and not even see him lurking there. But not so with King and Queen. Oh, what champion hunters they were! When Dad rode out, all ready for the hunt, they would joyfully bark, and then off they would go, far out across the valley until they reached the section where these beasts had destroyed livestock. Dad would stop and look carefully about. When he sighted a coyote, he would call out, "Here, King!" King would bound to his side, rear up on his saddle leg, and gaze in the direction toward which his master pointed. His sharp eyesight always quickly spotted the hunted animal. With a leap, King would spring away, leading the pack. Then he would cut around the brush or fence as he had been trained to do. George ceased talking and laughed heartily. "What in the world is so funny?" puzzled Harold. "I just remember that Dad once told me how King lost his tail. He was in such a hurry to zip under a low fence that he caught his tail on a barbed wire. The long tail broke and had to be docked. Dad said that King had an almost human look of dismay at the accident. But did he catch the coyote?" urged the listener. When the well-trained dog pack gave full chase, a coyote had very little chance to escape. You may be sure that a coyote can't run very long at top speed. As soon as it was at bay and drowned by the hounds, Dad would quickly order them back and pick up the animal by the hind legs. He then swung it overhead and broke the creature's neck on the ground. The older method was to use a buggy spoke and then, by hitting its head, put it to death with one swift blow. However, this caused a blood clot on the pelt, lessening its sale value. You see, there was a price paid for every skin, as the coyotes killed many valuable smaller animals, such as calves and lambs, and the ranchers were anxious to protect their stock. One morning, Dad's hunting dogs finished 11 coyotes. Now, coyotes are hunted by airplane, and many of them are killed daily. But for hunting with dogs, I believe that 11 is a very good record for one morning's hunt. George ceased speaking as he again looked at the clock. But I must stop, for I hear Dick's car in the driveway right now. Do come again, Harold. I'm always glad to see you and to tell you stories. You are a very interested listener. "Why shouldn't I be, Mr. Hibbard?" replied Harold earnestly. "Thank you so much. You tell the best stories that I've ever heard, and they are really true, too. Since hearing you, I don't care about made-up books at all." "That's fine," George said. "You'll find that nature's truths are always far more interesting than man's fiction. I'm certainly glad to know that you have learned this valuable lesson."